Okay, so now we're learning more about how to play Dominion. Now I talked about in the first video, and if you haven't watched the first video, please go back and watch it. You will probably be confused, unless you already know how to play the game, in which case don't watch this one either, because you're not going to learn anything from it. I talked about these 7 cards at the beginning that are always out, right? But what about all these other cards? And how do I know that there's 8 provinces, that there's 8 duchies, that there's 8 estates, whatever, okay? So you have these 7 cards that are always out. Then you have 10 other cards that are out. How do you pick those 10 cards? Well, there's like 150 Dominion cards out right now. That number's going to go way up this fall when the next expansion comes out, which is very mysteriously very, very large. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. But there's about 150. How do you pick 10? Well, the way you pick the 10, you can pick it actually any way you want, what group of 10 cards you're going to pick. The suggested way is to randomly pick it out of all the cards you own, okay? So you exclude the province and the duchy and the estate and the curse and the gold and the silver and the copper. Those can't be one of your 10 because those are always out. But you take the rest of your cards and you just randomly pick. That's one great way that I like to do it with. And there's, of course, other ways. You can hand pick 10 cards. You can start with more than it and go around with your friends and say, well, I don't want this one, I don't want this one, I don't want this one, until you're down to 10. Or you can say, well, I want these 2, and I want these 2, and I want these 2, until you get up to 10. Or you can say, well, I'm going to pick it mostly randomly, but I want to make sure that there's at least one card that costs 2, and at least one that costs 3, and at least one that costs 4, and at least one that costs 5. 5, by the way, is the most important price point in the game, according to the designer. And I think that's pretty well agreed upon. Anyway, however you pick the 10, you get these 10 sets of cards. Now, how many cards are in each stack? The gold, the silver, and the copper, you get 30 golds, 40 silver, and 60 copper, minus however many are in your starting hands. I'm playing just by myself right now, which really isn't much of a game. So that's 7 coppers in my original starting deck. Out of the 60 makes 53. Now, technically, you can play with however many of these treasures you want, as long as you agree with all of your opponents before the game starts that, oh, we're going to play this many. Basically, you would like for these supply piles to be infinite, but because this is a card game, and yes, it is normally played as a card game, because this is a card game, you can't have an infinite number of cards, right? So there had to be some finite number. This is however many they shipped with, and it is possible to run out any of these 3 piles. I've seen all of these piles run out. Basically, I've seen, if you've seen any card in the game, I've seen that pile run out at least once, which is pretty extremely rare on some of them, but I've also played like 10,000 games, so I'm crazy. You're not going to see most of them run out too often. Some of them are going to run out a lot more often than others. Province runs out the most often, let me tell you that, because that ends the game. Anyway, how many cards are in each of the piles? That's the gold, the silver, and the copper determined that way. Curses. You take the number of players who are playing, so if we're playing with 3 players, that'd be 3. You subtract 1 from that, so if we're playing 3 players, that's going to be 2. Multiply that by 10. So for a 3-player game, there's going to be 20 curses. For a 2-player game, there's 10. For a 1-player game, well, you'd think there would be none, but the way Doug Z has isotropic set up, all the numbers for a 1-player game are exactly like you were playing a 2-player game, except for the number of coppers. That's the only difference. Now, the victory piles, it's in a 2-player game, you have 8 cards in each victory pile. That includes the Kingdom ones like Gardens. In 3 or 4-player games, you have 12 cards in each of those victory piles. More than 4-player games is not... The game wasn't really designed to be played with more than 4, but it's suggested that for 5 or 6 you'd have 16 cards in each of those piles, if I remember right. It's been a long time since I played with 5 or 6 people, although the very first game of Dominion I played was a 6-person game. Anyway, Also, in a 5 or 6 person game, you play until 4 piles run out, not just 3. In case you're curious about that. So that's 8, and then all the other piles, the action ones basically, or if you get a kingdom pile that's a treasure card, basically any kingdom pile, any one of these 10 that isn't a victory, is going to have 10 cards in it. So that's how many cards are in each pile, and that's basically all of the setup and all of the rules of the whole game, except for the rules that are printed on individual cards. Now, I'm not going to go through all of those. Like I said, there's like 150 of them. I have them all memorized because I played like 10,000 games and I'm crazy. But I am going to go through a few here. Like we talked about, the chapel lets you trash up to 4. The laboratory, which I call lab, lets you chain. You can draw 2 and you got to play another action. The gardens we talked about. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to finish this game out real quick, playing a strategy that's very simple, and it's called Big Money. And all you do in basic old, plain old, boring Big Money, and this is a strategy that's always available, so if you want to have a winning strategy, you've got to be able to beat it. All you do in basic, boring Big Money is buy a province if you have 8 or more. And if you don't, you buy the most expensive treasure you can, except you usually never buy copper. Although that doesn't come up too much. So, as we can see, it took me 24 turns to get all the provinces, just playing that simple strategy. To get about half of them, it usually takes about 18 turns to get to 4, that is. And that's a good baseline, because you need to be able to beat that in any game. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to get faster, because there are things called attack cards. These red dots, I don't know if you can see them all that well, signifies that the card is an attack card. So some of that is you can slow your opponents down. Real quick here, we're going to play the same game again. And this time, I'm going to go with a chapel-based strategy. Now, what's so great about chapel is that it lets you trash these cards. Now, coppers aren't that great for you. They're not terribly, terribly bad when you're doing something that looks like big money, but they're not good for you, really. So I'm going to trash down these cards. And the good thing about that, and the estates really don't do anything for you early on. This is going to speed you up because you get to cycle through your cards faster, because you have fewer of them. The estates that are normally sitting around not doing anything in your deck are now doing something. And so, hopefully we'll see that this goes faster. Although, for something that's just like big money, chapel is not the most effective strategy there. But even here, we should see a slight speeding up. And we don't. Wait, do we? I don't know. It's about the same. Yeah? Well, I played that suboptimally. Typically, you're gonna want to buy duchies and other stuff at some point too, because well, you've got opponents to fight with. Okay, that's a chapel strategy. Next, we've got what's going to be stronger on this board, which is big money plus 1 card strategy. In this card, I'm going to do Smithy. Now, if with a Smithy, it doesn't have anything that says +1 action on it, so if I play a Smithy, I can't play more actions. Which means I don't want to have too many other actions in my deck, because if I draw them, Smithy draws you 3 cards. If I draw them, I can't play them. They're just dead cards. But that's not really a problem if you don't have any other actions. So here, I'm going to play a very basic big money Smithy strategy. You're going to see that it's going to be a lot faster than either of the strategies I've gone with so far. Time for me to get a second Smithy already, actually. Although, they can collide, like they do here. You don't always have to play your actions, like I just didn't. Third Smithy time, though that's not going to come back up. And we see here it's a little bit faster even, although, you know, not terribly much so in this case. A lot of it's down to shuffle luck too. you know, how your cards get distributed is a big deal in Dominion. And, you know, trust me when I say Smithy is going to be a better strategy than playing straight big money. Chapel's also going to be better than just playing straight big money. Smithy is going to be better than playing Chapel if you don't have any support cards. Now, one more thing I want to show you is a Bureaucrat. So Bureaucrat gains you a silver on the top of your deck. Gaining is one of the other fundamental things you can do in a game of Dominion. And I'm going to get labs with it here. Now, when you gain a card, it goes to your discard pile, okay? And I guess I should have probably said this in my first video too. When you buy a card, after you buy it, you then gain it. When you gain it, it goes to your discard pile. Okay? And so then if you, the next time you shuffle your discard pile into your deck, it will be there for you to use. Okay, here I'm going to buy a Cellar as well. Cellar, what it lets you do is it gives you plus an action, so you can play another action after it, and then you can discard any number of cards from your hand to draw the same number. Okay? So I'm going to play this Cellar. It's going to ask me which cards I want to discard. I'm going to discard my 2 coppers because they're below average cards from my deck. Okay? I drew 2, a silver and a copper. Now I can play my Bureaucrat because I have another action. It gives me a silver. Normally it goes in your discard pile. Bureaucrat, when you gain it, it goes on top of your deck. Okay? Here I'm going to buy a Laboratory. And a silver and a gold because I think it's a little bit too early for me to be getting a province. Bureaucrat, a silver. Laboratory, Bureaucrat, and I get a province here. Now gold, and now another gold. Now I'm going to discard all these cards, and I'm just going to finish out this game. And basically, this is going to be the end of my little intro video. I may do more at some point in the future if there's a particular subject that I think I need to explain to you guys. But that's basically going to be it. Now, in this, I'm going to play it more like it was a real game. I'm going to start buying duchies, yeah? Because in this point in a real game, my opponent's going to starting to get some stuff too. So I've got to fight him for duchies. Because at the end of the game, those are going to be worth a lot of valuable points. So it is going to slow me down somewhat, though, in getting my provinces, because they're going to clog up my deck. This is 8 enough for the last province. We can see that this strategy gets me a lot more points in a few more turns. Anyway, more strategic stuff you're going to see. I'll probably show you some more basic strategies at some point, but this is the basics of the game, and I hope you find it helpful. This is Wandering Winder, finishing my basic explanation of the card game Dominion that I know and love.